pull up a cup of coffee, and let's get this party started.
We're the uplines you didn't know you needed, but now you have.
This is the podcast for women who are building a direct sales business, but want to do it the right way.
Melanie has a decade of experience in direct sales. She's earned the top in industry 4 years in a row and has grown a multi-million-dollar organization. She gives a no BS approach to leadership, recruitment, and organization.
And my bestie Katie has you covered with the rest. From the relationships, the do's and don'ts of branding, her content has been viewed by millions. She doesn't just talk the talk, but she teaches people how to create an intentional brand too.
All right, let's get this party started.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Direct Sales Done Right podcast. This is Melanie and Katie, and we are excited that you are here, and we're going to kick off a really amazing episode. I'm kind of geeked to talk about this, but before we do that, we are going to shout out our review of the week. So every single week, we will read a review from iTunes. So if you are listening, I want you to stop and go leave us a rating and review because it helps other listeners find this podcast that might also be looking for advice in the direct sales industry. So Ashley said, I was introduced to Katie and Melanie 2 years ago at a conference for my direct sales company. And she said, have you ever listened to someone talk and you could see your own light bulb going off? Their words, their passion, and tips were everything I was looking for. It was like they knew the questions that were burning in my brain. Katie and Melanie's passion for sharing strategies have made me more excited about my personal business. I never miss an episode of the podcast, and neither should you. If you're ready to earn more income, advance your rank, and recruit more people than ever before, make the Direct Sales Done Right podcast one that you refuse to miss. As the girls say, success leaves clues. When you implement their direct sales approach, you will see added success in your business.
So cool. I'm actually sitting here going, I wonder what conference it was. I'm like sitting here going, that's so awesome.
I know.
Very
pretty
cool.
I know.
That is a really great review.
All right. So we're going to dive into today.
Okay.
And we're going to talk a little bit about social media content. Actually, this is something that you and I go back and forth a lot about. And we get a little irritated, I would say, right? Can I be so bold to say?
But just before we get too far.
Okay.
Because it's going to get good. So we're going to actually pause you right there. I want to know who the listener of the week is.
Oh.
We forgot. So can we just shout out?
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's shout out Ann Henry. Ann Henry is at Mommin in a Boy's World, and even Millie is so excited about this. But just for a second, the listener of the week is anybody who tags us on Instagram.
Yeah.
And they tag Chic Influencer, they tag Melanie Mitro, or at Katie Writes Content, and they let us know that they are listening to the podcast episode. Because when you share our podcast, it helps spread the word.
Okay.
And it means so much to us. But here's the cool thing about what Anne won this week and what any listener of the week wins. You actually win a mini coaching session in your DMs with either myself or Mel. So it's totally worth it to do, but I just wanted to make sure we took that minute. And I also like a good cliffhanger. So now that we know who our listener of the week is, let's get back to talking about why we get annoyed.
Okay.
Go
All
ahead.
right. Well, so I think we should preface by saying in social media these days, it changes so much. And right now, even we were doing our Q&A with our community and they were all up in arms about social media is changing. It's not just reels. Now they want to see more carousels and static, right? So there's always this change. And I remember maybe 6-7 years ago, gasped, remember when you bought followers because you just wanted more likes, and it was a vanity metric. It was how many likes do you have, and so now we're noticing this shift in trend, and we really have identified this for our business, but it is not about the likes. It is not about how good a post always performs. You always want to be looking at what is the end result that I'm actually working towards. And I think we sometimes get stuck still to this day in vanity metrics. We can have somebody is working to get more followers or to have a higher engagement or a certain number of comments, but we're failing to ask ourselves, what's the point of it? And so we want to actually talk about that today and dive into that. Yes.
And oftentimes when I work with clients through the Chic branding experience, one of the first things that they say is, I just want to gain followers. I just want to grow my audience.
Okay.
And it takes everything inside me to just not melt in my chair and be like, but hold on a second. And the reason is because gaining followers is great. And it's a great idea to work towards that, but that isn't going to convert and that isn't the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to kick it off with an analogy. And I know you're going to talk a little bit about metrics, which is definitely what I want to talk about today. But I always like to give this analogy of what Instagram followers really look like. Let's say that you have a store. Your Instagram profile is your storefront. And you have these people that are lining up at your storefront because they love your funny reels and they love the cute things that you're doing, and they think you're hilarious, and they love absolutely all the content that you're creating, and you're doing all the trending things, and it is awesome. And then you are noticing you're not actually getting any sales. And that's because you aren't letting the doors open to your business. They might not even know what you have to offer, or what you offer has literally nothing to do with why they came in to follow you.
Exactly.
And my own example is I was killing it with like marriage reels. Like last year at this time, I was like, all right, engagement like is going way up. My followers are going way up. I'm just going to talk about marriage. My marriage reels are funny. I'm having fun doing this. But at the end of the day, I wasn't selling anything that really related to marriage. Like it wasn't a product or anything that I was endorsing. And I was passionate about it. I was knowledgeable about it. But it was like, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
This isn't the audience that is most likely going to benefit from the products and services that I have to offer. And so I want you to actually take time today to get mad at us. You can actually get mad at us in this episode, and to really wrestle with the content that you're currently creating, and ask yourself the question of like, ooh, am I doing this? Am I going about this the right way? Am I using the metrics in the right way? So why don't we kick it off by actually talking about metrics?
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the metrics that we use for our content. We're really looking at a few different metrics when we're looking at our business. And this is something that if you do not have the Direct Sales Done Right planner, we'll actually link it in the show notes. You need to get the bundle, because in there we actually teach you how to use your metrics and to really use that to drive your social media content. And we're looking at a few things. When you're getting onto Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of those platforms, you are thinking to yourself, okay, I'm using this as a tool to help me grow my business.
Right.
I want to sell my product, my service, or experience. So you want to keep that in the back of your mind. You have business metrics that you're actually looking towards. So for example, if I need to sell 20 of these pens every single week, I'm actually asking myself, all right, how am I measuring success of my social media? And so that might actually be, I'm measuring how many pens I sold this upcoming week. Did my social media actually support my business goals? There are also times where we're just trying to build awareness. We're trying to get that visibility from our ideal target audience. And so sometimes we're showing up and our social media content is actually to build awareness. So we might be looking at how many shares that it got. And this is one thing that we talked about, was when I'm creating content, I always look at how many shares. Why? Because I know that when somebody shares my content, it's now getting in front of their audience, and that increases my ability to increase my ideal target client following. So I'm looking at that. I am also looking at the comments. Who are the people that are commenting? Is it actually building that community? So your social media, you're looking at, what are my business metrics? Is my social media content selling the things that I want to sell, or is it increasing the opt-in? So there are times where we're not looking at engagement whatsoever. At the time of recording this podcast episode, I have a free event that I'm marketing for. I don't care how many people comment on it. I am more curious about how many people are opting in, and I'm watching that number. So I can look back at this week and say, success, we hit the number of opt-ins that we actually wanted to have this upcoming week. So
and don't get us wrong, engagement is part of our strategy. So engagement content that is built to cultivate a community, to make people laugh, to build up that sort of awareness of who you are and what you stand for, and who, like, really just your personality. Those things are really great. And if you can connect it back to what you do or how you serve, that's even better. So I'm not going to be like team, like, don't do trending. I'm not going to be team, like, drop the funny act. It's not like that. It's just saying, why am I doing this?
Yes.
Like, what is my purpose, and can it connect back to why I even have a social media account?
Absolutely.
Listen, and if you are an influencer versus somebody in direct sales, it is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But when you want to be known uniquely in an industry, you really need to start saying, how do I serve uniquely? And am I showcasing that part of it too?
Yep.
Okay.
And you can't be afraid to sell.
No, which kind of brings us to the next point. And I would encourage you to go back to last week's episode. Do you remember what number it is? Last week's episode?
I don't.
Yeah, no, we didn't put the numbers on there. Last week's episode, we talked a lot about fear. We talked a lot about self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to talking about the business opportunity or just your products that you have to offer, you do have to share it. Just like if you had a storefront and the doors were locked and nobody knew you were open for business, you could be an influencer with 100,000, 200,000 people. But if no one actually knows what you do and how you serve, and there's no testimonials of what you do and how you serve, how do you think you're going to convert people?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of remove ourselves from this idea of I have to just grow my following, where that's not the goal. We want to intentionally grow a following who has interest in what we serve or how we share or what we sell. And so in order to do that, we have to go back to belief. Mm-hmm. And last week I shared the story about how when I had started coaching, I was really scared. I was so scared to tell about the opportunity, to talk about this coaching thing. I didn't want to come off as cheesy, and I didn't want to offend anyone with, number one, my health and wellness journey. I lost a pretty significant amount of weight, and I didn't want anyone to feel bad if they were struggling with their weight. And I also didn't want people to feel bad for their financial situation, because I was in it. I got it, and I didn't want anyone to be offended. And I also knew how they spoke of people who went out of the norm and started making income outside, especially in the direct sales space. So I was nervous about that, but I remember having this belief. It was a work in progress, a lot of personal development to actually grow my confidence. It was these little mile markers along the way that made me go, this is probably selfish not to share. And so I want to remind you that there's really 3 key areas. It's a trifecta when it comes to belief. You have to have belief in yourself. You have to have belief in the company that you are a part of, and you have to have belief in the product that you are endorsing. If you don't have those things, how could you possibly see success?
Right.
I mean, really, if you lay it down and you go, okay, like I believe in the product, but you aren't using the product, that's a problem. I have belief in the company, but then you're not sharing the opportunity, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. And then belief in yourself, it is like getting rid of the calluses in your heart or getting rid of the calluses in your mindset of just like scrubbing it away. It's work. It's intentional. It's you really chipping away at those layers of failures and layers of things that are holding you back. And the more you uncover, the harder it actually is. So with that being said, I want to share that it is a work in progress. You don't arrive with just this belief, but you have to grow to become the person who can believe it. So as you begin to see those small wins, which we talked about last week, you kind of are making note of it. You're looking at the blessings of the business we did 2 weeks ago. You're making note of it. And then you're saying to yourself, if I am just consistent with my action and I'm reflecting on the things that work and the things that don't work, I'm going to move my business forward. And we have to keep scrubbing away it. We have to keep working at those hard spots. And I heard this quote and I loved it. It said, you don't become confident by stacking affirmations in your mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt. You see, the less that you work, the less that you actually take action in your business, the more your self-doubt will continue to grow. And so for you to overcome those self-doubts, you've got to take some action, small action, measurable action in your business. That is how you grow into the person who becomes the affirmation that she's speaking in the mirror. So belief is really a key part of it as well. All right? Okay. Yeah.
You're good.
You're good. Number 32, because I've been talking about this one a lot.
Yes, I do. I think you should. I'm just taking it all in.
That one, yeah. So that was a really good quote.
It was.
It just really made me stop and go, yes. I love that people are like, affirmations, I am, and then powerful statement. But when you don't take action toward that affirmation, and we talked about
We
like
do
affirmations
as
and action,
if,
you
yeah,
know, like they have to be action based.
and
The
outwork your
longer you
self-doubt.
like sit in self-doubt, and the more you sit in self-doubt, the more the waves of doubt just keep coming over you, coming over,
And you
coming
just
over you.
never take any action at all.
Yeah,
The
you just
more
stop.
you just spiral
You just
out
stop.
of control
And
completely.
we've seen it
Yeah.
time and time and time again. But it does also have to come down to those three things of
Yeah.
belief in yourself, which is a work in progress, but belief in your company and belief in your product. Look, just complete transparency. If you actually don't believe in your products, why do you think you're going to be able to sell them?
I know. Yeah.
I mean, just why? And
It's
then,
like you're never going to recommend the lipstick that literally is on your teeth every single day. You're like,
Right.
you're not going to tell your bestie about the lotion that you absolutely love
Yeah.
if you don't actually love it.
yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's when people jump into direct sales and then it doesn't work. This is kind of me going off on a tangent.
right.
And then they switch companies and then it doesn't work. And then they switch to another company and then they're like, I don't know why it's not working. Because you haven't given this belief time to
Yeah.
sit.
Right.
Like you, not just in the company, but in your products. And I had a client in the Chic branding experience who 23 years ago, she's been with the company for 23 years, which is incredible to hear of a company that is really standing
Yeah.
the test of time. And when she came to the company, she said, I was selling the products and they were great, but she was like, it wasn't until I heard the CEO talk about the mission and talk about like the products and why she created them and why she developed this opportunity and how much she had a heart for really building a direct sales business, for helping more women, especially those in like the armed forces, create income and create community. And she was like, I was a lifer after that. I heard that. And she has spoken to that mission ever since.
Wow.
Powerful, right? Powerful to see somebody go, this is the mission and this is why I believe in it. And so belief in your company and belief in the product are huge, but the belief in yourself, only you can do that work. And that is work, right? So the third point that I want to make along those lines. So Melanie talked about metrics, huge. We talked about like belief, but the third one is your content. And I'm just going to preach for a couple minutes about this because I know that it's very easy to showcase your wins. I know that it's really easy to showcase how you've been blessed by the business, but we have to remember when we are creating content, we are serving it for the person on the other side of the screen. We aren't serving it for ourselves. We aren't saying like, look at me, look at all I've achieved. We're saying, okay, what is the current problem that my ideal client is sitting with right now? What are the desires that they have? And ultimately, who am I to give them a solution? Why am I uniquely qualified to support somebody else who is sitting in that struggle right now? So knowing exactly what the problem is, knowing exactly what the desire is, but most importantly, knowing how you uniquely solve that problem. All three of those key areas. So now, how do you do it? And I don't even know where this came from. I was talking on my stories one day and something clicked where I was like, okay, what is the key factor with women in direct sales who are killing it? Like, what do they have? Like, what are the qualities that they have? And there was two that stood out. And if you apply these two and you really work on these two as a skill set, I promise you, your relationship with media, your confidence with how you post is going to change. And this is it. Number one, you have to have energy. You have to have a natural energy that you can almost feel through the screen that, wow, she loves what she does. She is blessed because of what she does. She shows up grateful for the opportunity to get to do what she does. It is more of a feel than a tangible do.
Yeah.
And when you have that energy and you believe that you are uniquely qualified to serve your products or your company or whatever the way that you do, nobody can match it. So when we look at and we compare ourselves to other people or we see what they're doing and we see their energy, we want to almost say like, I want a little piece of that, but we need to figure out what that energy is for ourselves. And even in Chic Influencer, as Melanie and I have really developed over the past 5 years and honed in on our skill set, I can tell you that my energy is not for speaking of recruitment, not because I don't love it and not because I don't know how impactful it is for direct sales, but give me a woman who is like, I want to figure out how I can do this uniquely. And I am on fire. I am on fire for her. I am on fire for helping her understand her worth. And I am on fire for helping her find her story and to dig it out so that she can move past those self-limiting beliefs, and she knows how powerful her story is and how she is uniquely qualified to tell it. That's what lights me up. Likewise for Melanie, when she talks about recruitment and she talks about her courses, if you hear her speak, even her body language changes when she's talking about just the excitement and how life-changing it can be to recruit an organization. And to be able to work with someone where you're not threatened by their gifts, but like you are seeing and being able to elevate them is incredibly huge. So number one is energy. You got to have energy for what you do. And if you're like, I need a piece of that, I need energy, think about how you do it uniquely. Think about conversations you've had with clients in the past who've had their lives impact. Think about things that you post about that really light you up. Think about your unique niche. And there's so many trainings we've done on niche where it's passion, knowledge, and profit, and really intersecting those areas. We don't have time to get into it in this specific episode, but really thinking about the energy that you bring. And if you go back to your last 9 posts, where was your energy? Like, what did it look like? What did it feel like? And then the second thing, which is huge for any marketer, is empathy. Empathy is an understanding and a sitting with somebody through the suffer. So you are telling them you know what it's like. You've been where they are, but you also have a way out. You have a solution. And you are showcasing that empathy through your content. And there's so many small tweaks that I talk about through the Chic branding experience. We talk about in our community.
Yeah.
Anything from like, what pronouns are you using? Are you talking about I, me, my? It's like that Toby Keith song. You're talking about me. I want to talk about I. Or are you including them in the content? Are you really speaking to the problem, and are you agitating it just a little bit to like really drive home this idea of I see you suffer. I see the struggle that you have, and I know what you really want. And you're doing that enough so that people go, I love her energy. I want a piece of what she has, but I also feel like she sees me, like she's not out to sell. She's really excited about what she has to offer. And so those two things, I want to go back to just that belief. If we don't have belief, it's really hard to fake our energy. It's really hard to fake empathy when we're not using the products. So we have to really build our belief, and then we can really say, I have energy and empathy for what I offer.
And even as you're talking, I'm thinking of people that we've mentored and worked with who looked like they were doing everything right, but they just didn't have that belief. And that just really, that is definitely like a nail in the coffin for sure, you know? So yeah, it is. Okay. So the fourth thing, when we're looking at all of this and kind of pulling it in, is, you know, are you actually posting too much about sales? So we do find that people kind of can go one way or the other. They're posting all content that's just getting them engagement. They're just focused on, you know, bringing people in and growing that following. And then we also see the opposite side of things where every single post is about what you're selling.
Yeah.
And when we look at that, right, when we actually like go into that part of it, we really have to understand that we have to have this balance. All right. So there needs to be this balance of the way we do social media. It really is like, okay, I need to be focused on getting followers. I need to absolutely grow my target audience. And that truly is by creating content that follows the rules of what Katie just shared. But it also is, am I serving them? Am I posting with empathy? Am I posting with energy? Do people feel that conviction that when I talk about the way that I contour my face at 40, it is the best way to contour my face at 40. Like, people need to feel that, and you have to serve them. You have to show them how you actually do it. But that third piece is, am I converting followers? So I'm not just talking about how I do it, but then I'm actually saying, these are the products I'm using to do it. And you know what? You can get them from me. And all you have to do is drop the word contour in the comments below, and I will send you the link for a color match. And I'm using that as an example because she's in my mastermind right now. And it actually, you know, and we have to think about, okay, am I off balance? As a business owner, it's sort of this dance, I like to say. I'm always thinking about how am I getting new followers? How am I serving them? have I converted them? And it's just always making sure that I'm not skewing my content too far to one side, to the extremes. Anything to an extreme becomes a bad thing. So you're really looking at, okay, how am I actually, what is the engaging content that I'm doing? And that truly is, our trending audios, right? It's things that are easy to share, your quotes. But again, they're still related back to why you do what you do, the root cause of what you sell. It has to be on brand. Even just giving people that binge worthy effect. And a lot of times that for me is, when I think about binge worthy, I think about the cover photo, the grid. Like when you open up somebody's Instagram account and then you go to the Reels tab, and then I look at what are the titles that they put on their Reels, their cover photos. Binge worthy is I actually go through and click through all of them and read them off. So just to give you that example. And then awareness, right? Serving content and it gets people to stick around. That actually is you. And that's, for example, the woman I used with the contouring. I stick around because she gives me content I want to see. She continues to talk about makeup in your 40s. It's something, I'm a woman in her 40s. She's not trying to speak to the 20-year-old or the 70-year-old. It's very specific. So it's really getting people to stick around. And then the last thing is, have I invited them? Are they people that I invite either through the post, having them a call to action, drop the word contour? Am I talking about it in stories? And just making sure that I have the balance. And that at the end of the day is the strategy that we're always working towards. And we're always going back to this piece of content. What is the metric that I am measuring against? Is it engagement, awareness, or is it actually sales?
Yeah.
And so it's sort of taking yourself out of the popularity contest of how many followers that I have. And it's really saying like, hey, this is a tool. This is a tool to build my business, and I have to keep that in mind at the end of the day.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. I love it. Well, we always like to end with some client love, and this week we want to talk about Jenny B. So Jenny B was just recently ranked the top 100 directors in the U.S. for 3 consecutive weeks in February. And even better, one of her new consultants ranked in the top 100 consultants for 2 weeks. I am so proud. I love hearing from our clients. Jenny B, was she Direct Sales Done Right Academy? Was that it?
I'm not sure if she's Academy.
I just saw this testimonial come through. That's why
she's in our membership. So she's inside of our community too. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, one of the things that I can very clearly say as a truth bomb for the week for somebody like Jenny is she's sharing with energy and empathy. Those 2 things will change your business. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Direct Sales Done Right podcast. We'll see you next week.
All right, so if you loved today's episode, make sure you head over to wherever you listened to the episode today and leave us a rating and review. And also take a little screenshot and tag us on Chic Influencer. We'll feature you in our stories. Plus, we'd love to get your feedback and hear from our listeners.
Until next week, let's make chic happen.